To receive instant notifications, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification.
Helping you along the way. Helping you to make it through another day. Yeah. Everything you need to know that you never knew, that you need to know. Like our perspective.
Hey everyone, it's me, Felicia, of the Lockhart Perspective and Headlines with a Voice. I want to tell you a little secret. This is what I used to do, because I don't do it anymore. I would go to the store, buy the barbecue sauce, pour it inside of a bowl, put a whole bunch of different spices, a dash of brown sugar, a dash of maple, and a dash of mustard, stir it all around, and everybody would be like, oh my gosh, this is the best, this is the best. But I was exhausted after all of that, and a lot of times I couldn't remember how many dashes of what I put in it. But I don't have to do that anymore, because now I just go to Judge Joe Brown's website and I order his 3-pack of bottled barbecue sauce. It is by far the best, and I do mean the best barbecue sauce I've ever eaten. And when you go to his website and you order his 3-pack, you'll see exactly what I mean. Head on over to jjbbbbq.com and order Judge Joe Brown's barbecue sauce. You'll be glad you did, and you're going to tell me about it. I know you will. Well, hello and grand afternoon to everybody. Today we got to get right into it. I believe that there's a couple of stories that we're going to touch today. Maybe some people have touched it, maybe somebody hasn't, but for us, we got to do it, because here's the deal. While dealing with the whole Fani Willis issue, some of us, including myself, have not wanted to look at it, as a political issue. A lot of us, including myself, we just wanted to look at the facts of the case. We wanted to review it. And like I said before, I really wanted to like her, because I was like, go, sister girl. But yeah, that didn't happen for long. So we're going to look today at some things that have come to my attention just recently, things that I haven't heard a lot of people touching on, and things that may, for the most of us, solidify why it is important. I've said before that it really isn't about Trump, because if a lot of these things can happen across the board, with him, it can happen across the board with us. The first thing that we're going to do today is we're going to look at a gentleman who was very controversial and a lot of the different things that he would say. But there's also some pivotal pieces of history that in his passing, I want to make sure that we continue to focus on, because Mr. Eric Mays, who was in Flint, Michigan, was a very controversial person in that he stood up for what he believed in, and he generally didn't let anybody run over him. So we're going to first take a look at that. And then after we take a look at that and for his parting, we're also going to go right in head first with a lot of this Fani Willis stuff that is absolutely, it's troubling at best. It's very, very troubling, because that means that we are in deeper doo-doo than we thought we were. First of all, let's get into the story for Mr. Mays, his passing. And then we're going to look at a video that I think will mark to me who he really was and what he stood for. So tributes are pouring out for this man as he's passed away. Tributes pour in as death silences Flint's Councilman Eric Mays' bold, unwavering voice. The way they put stuff these days. Anyway, it goes on to say Eric Mays, the first ward councilman, a political lightning rod who represents some of the city's poorest, has died at the age of 65, leaving a legacy of fearless advocacy, in-your-face politics, and a common touch that rang true with voters who elected him 3 times to represent their interests in Flint City. Now, you all may remember Flint itself was on the map specifically because of the water that we all know. Some people may have known about Flint and have dealt with Flint, have been there. But for those of us who had not really paid any attention to it or thought about it at all, Flint water was something that came up on the radar several years ago, and to the tune of now them having a class action suit is going up. So hold on, let's just get right into the rest of this. But I just wanted to lay that foundation because I know there's probably a lot of people saying, well, who is he? Who was he? I'll show you in a second. All righty. The son of a pastor, Mays was one of 9 children of the late Reverend Lewis H. and the late Rosie B. Mays. He graduated from Flint Northern High School in Michigan and Michigan State University, and he retired from General Motors, where he honed in his political skills as a district committee person and recording secretary for the local unions of the United Auto Workers. Mays' political strength grew over the past decade, and he gained a national social media following thanks to viral videos that featured his confrontations with other council members. First elected by just a 7-vote margin in 2013, he was the longest serving member of the current council and organized committees to run for mayor in 2008, 2015, and 2022. Mays died while serving. This is very important here because I just watched this council meeting that caused this. This is amazing. Mays died while serving a 90-day suspension for conduct unbecoming a council member, a punishment he maintained was unjust and which he fought against until his death. After a judge denied his request for a temporary restraining order to block the disciplinary action in January, a constituent filed her own lawsuit, and we're going to read that in a moment, claiming the suspension of Mays took away both her constitutional rights and her only voice in city government. Quote, he would fight for the underdog. He would get out of bed and people would call him. When people would call him, he'd just get up and get out of bed. It didn't matter if a person was black, white, polka dot, or pinstripe. This comes from the 6th Ward Councilwoman, Tanya Burns, said on February 25th, which was yesterday. She said, it broke him to not be in that seat. It broke his spirit. Serving the community was his fuel, close quote. The city's announcement of Mays' passing did not refer to a cause of death, but friends say that he had stayed close to his home on Russell Avenue in recent weeks. Funeral arrangements have not been completed as of early yesterday, Sunday, the 25th of February, 2023. Tributes to the councilman poured in after the city announced Mays' death and plans to fly flags at half-staff in his honor beginning on today, the 26th of February. Even political adversaries, including Mayor Sheldon Neely, joined in the accolades, calling Mays' passing a tremendous loss for our community and a shock to all friends and family. Council President Liddell Lewis, who is a pip, who Mays sued in October for removing him from a meeting for disorderly conduct, also issued a statement calling him a dedicated public servant, tireless champion for the people of Flint. Friends also mourn the loss of the councilman who gained a reputation for always picking up the phone when a constituent called and who was one of the first elected officials to acknowledge the Flint water crisis. I'm not going to read this anymore. I'm going to go directly to the next story because this next story is what I personally want everybody to remember him for. Why? Because there have been a lot of controversial articles written, which is what prompted me to come today and have this conversation. It prompted me to have this conversation because in my efforts to honor his life and let everybody know about his passing, I searched, as I normally do, for a story that would absolutely allow me to be able to narrate it in a professional and sound way, but I couldn't find one. As a matter of fact, this is the only article after looking that I could find. But after this point, when I found this, I had already decided to put the other stuff up. And luckily, I was able to find something that just dealt with the fact that, yes, he was an outgoing guy. And yes, he did let people have it. And he most assuredly was well known on social media. But I wanted this so that you guys would remember who it was that stood up for Flint when it was time to. And he's also going to give, out of his own words, the story about how everything happened. Let's together review and discuss and have commentary on the following video for that specific purpose and nothing else. Let's go ahead and set that up for you so that you will have it. I'll change out this screen. And I thank you guys for letting me explain why I have to pause and change out and all that good stuff. So let's see here. This is the one we're going to use. This comes from Democracy Now!, believe it or not, but I don't really care. The information that I'm about to share with you, it could come from Bobo the Fool. It wouldn't matter if it was copiously done, if it was well done, and it was what I need to share with you, then that's what we're going to do. So this comes from Democracy Now! It does not belong to Headlines with a Voice, nor does it belong to the Lockhart Perspective. However, we are utilizing this information as commentary dealing with the specific topic of Eric Mays. This is Meet the Flint official whose bid to restore safe drinking water was blocked by an unelected manager. Let me see exactly how far, because they had music. I don't want to hear the music. Let me see how far back I can go without hearing the music. Here we are. Okay. Right there.
To find out.
Eric Mays, first ward city councilman for the city of Flint.
I want you to hear her, what she has to say.
To City Hall to find out. Similar law, PA4, was defeated in a 2-to-1 statewide referendum. We went to City Hall to find out.
Eric Mays, first ward city councilman for the city of Flint. I represent the first ward, which is the farthest north end of the city of Flint, about 11,000 residents. I would say it's about 96% or so Black. And, you know, we've got all the issues, high crime, abandoned houses.
So explain how the emergency manager worked and how the decision was made to switch to the Flint River.
Very deep voice.
If you look at Public Act 436 and even Public Act 4, whenever a city was in so-called quote unquote or quote emergency financial distress or financial trouble, unquote, whoever defined that and however the city got there with a general fund budget deficit, the governor would appoint a review team, and the review team might recommend an emergency manager come in. In my opinion, some of that was created because the governor took revenue sharing away from cities and helped create financial distress, about $55 million at some point from the city of Flint.
Wait, you're saying they take the money from Flint and they send it elsewhere in Michigan?
In this case, our money was taken from Flint, Detroit, and other municipalities, and the governor then.
Now, I want you guys to listen to this because I'm not going to show you, but I will give you the links down below in the description for another major issue that's going on there right now that would appear to be, and I say appear to be something questionable. And they voted on it in one of the videos that I watched for their council meeting after they had him removed and after they suspended him, which is what led up to the 90-day suspension, right? So there's something else going on. I'll leave that link down below in the description for you guys, but I want you to listen very carefully to what he's saying and what he's telling us was going on with the water from Jump Street.
Boasted in some cases a surplus for the state. And so that's why we say in some cases the governor helped create the deficit and then would send in an emergency manager.
So explain what happened. How was the decision made?
In about April of 2014, I got a notification that it was some activity going on over at the water plant. And when I got there, the emergency manager was there down there early. The mayor was there. Council people was there. I was one of them. I seen other officials there. The police chief was there. And when I caught on to what was going on, it was a countdown 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then the button was pushed and one light went on red and yet green, and it's recorded and documented. And so then after that, there was a gathering in the plant because this button is pushed outside in the back somewhere, and then we walked from there, and then they did a toast. And, to show we're drinking now river water. And because of the stigma of the river, I wouldn't really, I held it up, but I didn't feel comfortable guzzling it down with them. And they was, go ahead and drink. And I was like, so, that's kind of what went down. So I was leery from the beginning, but I had no idea. I knew nothing about some of the bacteria. I knew nothing about TTHMs, trihalomethanes. I knew nothing about lead, and I knew nothing about possible Legionnaires.
So you introduced a bill in March of 2015 to say return to Detroit's water. What happened to it?
I put a motion on the floor, and that motion passed 7 or 8 to 1 to return to the Detroit water. And I think then President Josh Freeman was the only no vote. And so the emergency manager, I think it was then emergency manager Ambrose, I think he talked publicly like that was not something that was smart or shouldn't have been done. He used some distinct words.
He used the word, it's incomprehensible that your city council voted 7 to 1 to go back to Detroit's water. I have the quote of the emergency manager, Jerry Ambrose, who said, Flint water today is safe by all U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and Michigan Department of Environmental Quality standards, and the city is working daily to improve its quality. It's incomprehensible to me that 7 members of the Flint City Council would want to send more than $12 million a year to the system serving Southeast Michigan, even if Flint ratepayers could afford it. Lake Huron water from Detroit is no safer than the water from Flint.
Well, he was wrong. In my opinion, he was wrong. And it was not meeting all the EPA standards. We found out Kurt Guyette with the ACLU did some good research, and, he discovered to me that the city of Flint was submitting samples of water where they had been pre-flushing, which you shouldn't pre-flush when you're testing for certain things. Water should set at least for 6 hours, and then you test. We found out they were testing maybe certain places that didn't have lead pipes. And so there was some what we call skewed testing samples.
That was Flint City Councilman Eric Mays. He sponsored the legislation to switch Flint back to Detroit water half a year before the governor finally allowed the city to switch back.
Okay, and so you see that. Now, again, I'm going to explain the reason why I'm not showing all the viral clips and the way that, they like to characterize his behavior. Now, let me just tell you, he's a couple of years, let's see. He's 6 years older than me. 6 years and 6 days. All right. I'm September 10. He's 6 years and 4. I don't know how you want to figure it out, but he's a September person. And when I found out that he was a September person after seeing him going off, I said, you know what? There's a purpose for him going off, because it takes almost the borderline stupidity for me to even get to the point where I'm up here. Something has to be really, really, are you kidding me? I can't believe it type of upset. And so, yeah, a lot of the things that I saw that he had done, a lot of those viral clips, I would crack up laugh because I'm like, well, somebody ripped it. Somebody did it. So I wanted to be I want to be very transparent here. This man did a lot of good things. He stood up for people that nobody else stood up for. I want to say that again. He stood up for folks that other people did not stand up for. No one expected for him to say, hey, yo, whoa, wait a minute now. You guys have already done this. This wasn't a good idea. I didn't want it to be done. But now we need to reverse this and we need to go back where we were because you're killing folks here. You're killing me, Samal. You're killing folks here. And so that's the reason why I want to end it with that. I shared with you he was born. Now, let me tell you, he was born on the 16th of September, 1958, passed away. Get this. And I'm telling you, my spidey senses are up on this too. But nonetheless, I'm going to digress for a second. I'm going to let it go. But my spidey senses are up. He passed away 2/24/24. Okay, let's leave that there. 2/24/24. And there are some unique things that are going on right now in that area. So I'm just going to leave that. I'm not even going to read the statement from the woman who stated that him being away was stopping her constitutional rights. But because we just mentioned that in the other one, but I will let's go and just read maybe one paragraph of that, so that way you guys can get an idea of exactly what it was that she was saying. All right. So here, let me share this with you. That's him. For those of you who do not know who he is. He had an unf-withable appearance and an unf-withable personality. And I liked him. There is a Flint woman who has sued the city in federal court, claiming that the suspension of Councilman Mays, remember, he was not even off of that 90-day suspension that the unique woman there from his city helped him get on, which was the council, right? So he was on suspension, but this woman sued the city in federal court, claiming that the suspension of Councilman Eric Mays violated her constitutional rights and the rights of approximately 10,000 residents who lived in the ward that he represented. The class action lawsuit filed by Corinne Harris on Tuesday, just this past Tuesday, February 20th, claims the city and the city council are violating the free speech and the due process rights of all First Ward residents by leaving them without a voice in the city government, while Mays served out his 90-day suspension for unbecoming conduct. After watching them, the way that they behave in their council meetings online, I've determined that a lot of people were acting in an unbecoming way. I think they get upset with him because he's not just going to let him, he wasn't going to let you just talk to him any old kind of way, period. And you know what? There are not a lot of men around here these days that are like that. They were using words like misogynist and all these other things to describe him. And he was like, whoa, wait a minute. You're not going to do that. I have not talked about you and you're not going to do it. What people didn't like was the fact that there was this, towering Black man who had this barreling voice and was able to articulate with all specificity what you were and were not going to do to him. And I appreciated that about him. But this young lady says that she's now suing. I don't know where the lawsuit is going to go, but it goes on to say that Mays was suspended from council meetings for 3 months on December 20th, 2023, for reasons including what the council resolution called persistent use of racist rhetoric. Now, let me keep going. And for his use of constant frivolous motions to impede the business of council. That's what they say. But after watching their council meetings, I'm telling you, the Midwest got some people that's really in these councils. It's no wonder Black communities and communities that have a large amount of Black folk in them have absolutely no progress. Not only are they voting in garbage, not only are they voting in people that keep promising the same thing, but as I've grown more aware of what's going on, I see that they are also putting people in place who have absolutely no idea of running government. They wouldn't begin to understand, like I said before about somebody else, what is parliamentary procedure. They don't understand how you're supposed to behave in government. They don't understand any of it. And they are doing some pretty cattywampus things, using phrases to describe somebody else when they're doing the exact same thing. So with that said, this young lady went ahead and filed a lawsuit. And if you'll get this down below in the description later, you'll find that it was actually a class action suit. Don't know, again, how far it will go or if it was even able to be, finalized because of the fact that now he has passed away. But I don't believe I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe they'll just sue him and get a couple of dollars. I don't know. So nonetheless, that's that. So now we're done with that. We're going to go on to the next story, which is which is what's on the thumbnail you guys saw there. And that was Wanda says, but that garbage is keeping the poor even poorer. They are plants for the agenda. I so agree. I so agree. You know, and I just tell you, it's to me, it is so discouraging. What I would recommend for anybody under the sound of my voice who's not gone to one of your council meetings and you happen to live in any city, USA, you need to start to go and you need to find out exactly how they ended up without a stop sign at that corner where kids keep getting hit. You need to go and figure out how you still have potholes on the road when you get your whole front end messed up and there's no one to pay for it. You need to go to those meetings and determine exactly what's going on. How does it work? How does it affect you in your daily life? We hear all these stories, such as the one we're about to cover now, about this large stuff that's happening federally. Unfortunately, the next story that I'm about to read is not just federally, but it's also local for the individuals who not only reside in Fulton County, but who also reside in Georgia as a whole. And then, yes, it does bleed over and blend over into the United States and any town, USA. We're going to have a commercial break and then we'll be right back.
Hey everyone, it's me, Felicia, of the Lockhart Perspective and Headlines with a Voice. I want to tell you a little secret. This is what I used to do because I don't do it anymore. I would go to the store, buy the barbecue sauce, pour it inside of a bowl, put a whole bunch of different spices, a dash of brown sugar, a dash of maple, and a dash of mustard, stir it all around, and everybody would be like, oh my gosh, this is the best, this is the best. But I was exhausted after all of that, and a lot of times I couldn't remember how many dashes of what I put in it. But I don't have to do that anymore because now I just go to Judge Joe Brown's website and I order his 3-pack of bottled barbecue sauce. It is by far the best, and I do mean the best barbecue sauce I've ever eaten. And when you go to his website and you order his 3-pack, you'll see exactly what I mean. Head on over to jjbbbbq.com and order Judge Joe Brown's barbecue sauce. You'll be glad you did, and you're going to tell me about it. I know you will.
Okay, so what we're going to look at right now is we're going to look at several small stories. I beseech you, beg you, ask you, implore you, please stay with me during this time because I can't say this twice. Okay, I can't say this twice, but I will tell you that this is important for us to watch. Now, we're going to start very mild and then we're going to get into the big boom, baby. This right here is from Fox News. And what this young lady's idea is that this could be an existential threat to the Trump prosecutor criminal defense attorney. Let's watch, and then I want you guys to watch what else we got.
Bring in criminal defense attorney Lexi Rigdon. Lexi, Brooke did a great job setting up the chronology there. Walk us through what's going to take place today in the judge's chambers, specifically what information Trump's attorneys are going to try to get out of one Terrence Bradley.
Well, the reason that this is going on today, I mean, this case is like a bar exam question, and it's sort of maybe a cautionary tale not to represent your friends, although this is not something that happens very often. But what they're going to be doing in chambers is they're having an in-camera review. And in-camera is simply Latin for in private. And the judge is going to be talking to Terrence Bradley because there's some uncertainty as to whether what he knows about their relationship, Fani Willis and Nathan Wade, is due to the fact that he learned it in the course of his representation or because he learned it as a friend, because the lines are blurred here. You don't have any privilege with the stuff you tell your best friend. Although I would tell my best friend differently, there is no legal privilege with what you tell your best friend. However, there is a very strong and longstanding privilege with what you tell your lawyer. So the judge is trying to figure out what he knew and what context he knew it in, and he's doing it in private so that it's not a spectacle for the public, and also in case that information is privileged.
One thing we do need to keep in mind about the judge in this case, we've attacked a lot of judges on this program and throughout the media because they do seem biased. They seem like they have an agenda. This judge does seem like he is trying to play things right down the middle to make sure he is on the up and up in everything. And that's why this is a prudent move by him. Back to the facts of the case. Here's what Nathan Wade said on the stand a couple of weeks ago. Listen.
When I say frequent, do you think prior to November 1st of 2021, you were at the condo more than 10 times?
No, sir.
So it'd be less than 10 times?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's what one party in the relationship said. The other party, Fani Willis, obviously has said things that the Trump attorneys think are incorrect. So late yesterday, Trump's lawyers filed a motion to have Fani Willis testify again in light of new evidence that the relationship between her and Wade began earlier than she previously stated, i.e. what Brooks' report just said. Explain how that testimony could not only jeopardize her case against Trump, but Lexi, her career, because a prosecutor really can't perjure herself on the stand in which she prosecutes.
Well, that's correct. And as a lawyer yourself, you know that lawyers are officers of the court, and we're held to a different standard. The court is to assume that the things that we say are true and that things need to be true. And she's no different than anyone else. She cannot lie under oath. And what they're alleging, the defense team in this instance, is alleging that she and Wade lied under oath by saying that their relationship did not predate his appointment to the case, which is contradicted really by the evidence that was just released. And I think that this is really compelling evidence, the cell phone evidence, and not even so much the triangulation of the cell phones, because that could be explainable. I mean, you know, he could get up there, or she could get up there and testify again that they weren't really where the cell phones said they were. It's kind of an imprecise science, but you can't ignore the text messages and the amount of calls. That is not a normal, casual friendship. Nobody contacts their friends that much. I mean, we're talking about 180 phone calls a month, 12,000 text messages in an 11-month period. I mean, that is a significant amount of contact. And so if the judge decides to remove Fani Willis from the case, the entire office is then disqualified from the case. The attorney general in Georgia will need to reassign it. And at that point, a new district attorney who takes this up might say, I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole. This is too politically fraught. The legal underpinnings aren't really there. And it could be an existential threat to the prosecution if the Fulton County DA's office is removed.
I had a two-part question for you. You answered part one. What's in it for Trump? Great explanation there. Going forward, what's in it for Fani Willis? Does her career survive this? Because like we said, you can do certain things as a prosecutor, you can toe the line, but this seems like a disqualifying event or series of events, Lexi.
Well, yes, like I said, you can't lie under oath. And so she has lied under oath. She even brought up her own potential campaign violations, which was a little strange, loose lip sync ships, I guess, when you're under the heat of the public glare testifying. But she could face disciplinary action as a member of the bar, as could he, because you're not allowed to lie under oath. And there was also an issue with the interrogatories in his divorce case that he swore to. So these two, even if the case continues in Fulton County and they're able to survive this mess, they're still likely going to have problems with their respective, the bar of Georgia.
You always hear that phrase, doctors make the worst patients. Boy, Fani Willis sure made a horrible witness. If she got a witness like that in the stand, she'd be one disappointed attorney. She's one disappointed attorney for other reasons today. Lexi, thank you so much. Amazing insight. We appreciate it.
Okay, and so now we're going to go directly into the printed storyline that we're going to be looking at. I played that on purpose so that those of you who may not already have the full background and the groundwork that's been laid up, visually we see that now there's three stories after this one that I read that I need you guys to pay very close attention to, because like I said, I'm sure there are several other people who have covered this. I just haven't seen it covered. So let's go into this. This is the former law firm partner of the prosecutors enters the spotlight amidst testimony. Now, this comes from law.com, and here we are. Here's what you need to know. An Atlanta lawyer could give testimony this week that could lead to the disqualification of prosecutors in Georgia's election interference case. The DA is accused of illegally profiting from her relationship with the chief prosecutor she hired. The case involves Donald Trump and 18 others accused of interfering in Georgia's 2020 election. Now, this article is probably even updated between the time that I pulled it and now, but that's what it's letting us know, because this is an actual law. You have to actually sign up for this publication. But it does regenerate as information becomes available. Does that make sense? So it just goes on to say that a former law partner and chief prosecutor of the Georgia's election interference case has been thrust into the spotlight, with some defense attorneys hoping to use his upcoming testimony to disqualify the district attorney and her entire prosecution team from the case. Terrence Bradley, who is a former law partner of the case's chief prosecutor, Nathan Wade, will be called to testify in a hearing on Thursday and Friday on a motion to disqualify the district attorney, Fani Willis, and her team from the Fulton County case involving Donald Trump, said attorney Ashley Merchant. Now, I want to put a pin there. We already know that what they're doing today in camera. We don't know exactly what's going to come out of it, but I'm sure, let's see, it's about 3:30 there, maybe tomorrow or something. I don't know when they would, let the judge's findings come out, but I want to tell you that this entire situation is marred by contradictions, and it's also marred by conflict of interest on so many levels. Now, Merchant is representing former Trump aide Michael Roman, who is charged in the racketeering case involving an alleged plot by Trump and 18 others to overturn the results of Georgia's 2020 presidential election. 4 defendants have agreed to plead guilty to the charges. Prosecutors have been seeking an August 5th, 2024 trial date for Roman and the remaining defendants, including Trump, who likely will be in the midst of his campaign for president as a Republican nominee in November of 2024. Following a Monday hearing, Fulton County Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee, we're going to talk about you today, my friend. We're going to talk about you, ruled that an evidentiary hearing can be held on Thursday and Friday on Roman's motion that Willis legally benefited financially from a personal relationship with Wade, and she should be disqualified from prosecuting the case. We're going to stop there because that, again, is just getting everybody who's never seen this up to speed on where we are. The next story, baby, that I'm about to share with you is very concerning to me. Very concerning. And here it is. Here it is. Okay. Oh, boy. Now, remember I said the judge. We're going to start with that. You guys may already know this, but there are some that don't. Fulton County Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee, who is presiding over the Trump election interference case, donated to the county prosecutor, Fani Willis's financial disclosures show. The judge donated $150 to Willis in June of 2020 while working for the Justice Department. Quote, the donation itself is more or less a token amount, and it was made prior to his becoming a judge, legal analyst Philip Holloway told the Daily Caller. But failure to disclose to the defendants a political donation to the prosecutor can be seen as a present appearance of a conflict of interest. Judges are required to avoid even the appearance of a conflict of interest. And do you guys know that even the appearance, that there's a passage in the Bible that says that we are supposed to avoid the very appearance of evil. The very appearance of evil is something that we, as just the citizenry, should avoid. This says judges are required to avoid the very appearance of a conflict of interest. Governor Brian Kemp, who refused to launch a criminal probe into Willis, appointed McAfee to the bench and was subsequently sworn in on February 1st, 2023. Previously, McAfee worked for Willis in the Fulton County District Attorney's Office before she won the election in 2020, the New York Times reported in August. Willis dislodged a longtime former county prosecutor accused of corruption. Dislodged. She assumed office January 1st of 2021. She campaigned in 2020 on not engaging in sexual misconduct. Now, this is what she campaigned on, as her predecessor was accused of doing. The irony of Willis's campaign promise was evident after allegations of her own affairs surfaced, along with financial implications. I guess she meant, well, I'm going to do it. I'm just not going to get caught. You did it and you got caught, but I digress. In 2023, former President Donald Trump and co-defendant Michael Roman accused Willis of maintaining an improper romantic relationship with her top Trump prosecutor, Trump prosecutor Nathan Wade. Wade testified before McAfee on Thursday that his relationship with Willis began in 2022 after Willis opened the case against Trump in 2021. But former Fulton County District Attorney employee and Willis college friend Robin Yerdy said that it was definitely a relationship going on with him back since 2019. So it contradicted the whole entire situation. Now, if McAfee determines that Willis engaged in an actual conflict of interest with her lover and fellow prosecutor, Willis will be or would be removed from the case. What are the chances of that happening? What are the chances? Now, it might happen now that a lot of this information is coming out. But what are the chances in an election year that this cat will actually find the need to say ta-ta to her and throw the whole thing out? It would be, I don't know. I think it would just destroy everything. This is the lighter of the last of the cases that we're going to go into, okay? This is the lighter of the cases that we're looking at, of the articles. Here goes another one. The next one that we're talking about deals specifically with Wade and Willis. Now, it deals with them on two fronts. The first front that it's going to deal with is how they went about taking care of the individuals that were made, that she employed. All right? About 250 employees there in Fulton County's district, the courts and everything, right? 250 that she's responsible for. So just like somebody would do if they were coming in as a presidential candidate and they now just, now they're actually the president. Just like Miss What's-Her-Face, Lock Her Up did. Remember what she did? She went through and she fired everybody when her husband came in, and that's Clinton. Fired everybody, which is the way you should be. You should just get rid of everybody and hire all new. But there's something that you don't do in this situation, and that is take a stranger that is not working for the county, human resources, or in any capacity assigned to the county, the state, the city, the government that is, and allow that individual to do exit interviews and or to do interviews deciding who you're going to keep or even talk to or speak on the stead of said government. Let me make this clear. When you are in a position to hire and fire, you represent the company. And when you represent the company, everything you say and everything that you do is basically the company's higher up, the company itself speaking to the employees, speaking to the previous employees, separating individuals, firing and hiring. Everything you say and you do represents the company. So it would not behoove you as a leader to bring in a total stranger off the streets, somebody these individuals have never seen, somebody that's not been hired by the company to speak to the employees. Well, that did not stop Fani. Let's take a look at what happened. Let's have a big gander, shall we? Because I was absolutely outdone. I was outdone. Here you go. Exclusive. Nathan Wade led Fani Willis 2020 transition into office. Nathan Wade made the decisions to hire and fire. Let me give y'all this full screen so y'all can see this. Let me just give you the full screen and come back on the other side. Can you see it? Are you with me now? Get a hold of this. Nathan Wade made the decisions to hire or fire employees in Fulton County District Attorney's Office following Fulton County Prosecutor Fani Willis's election victory in November of 2020. Multiple sources familiar with the Wade and Willis relationship exclusively told a news outlet. Now, I want you guys to see that, and that's it. That's all I can say here, a news outlet, okay? But you see it. The revelation of Wade's previously unreported position as a former personnel decision maker for the district attorney's office raises ethical and a conflict of interest concerns. It also raises questions about whether Wade and Willis have been forthright about the timeline of their affair. Quote, Wade is a prosecutor on the Trump case and is selected and and he selected the office employees, a source told the news outlet. Wade led a transition team of 10 to 12 people who interviewed and evaluated current employees to remain in Willis's newly won office just weeks after she won the election in November, sources said, who wished to remain anonymous for fear of retribution due to their direct knowledge of the environment inside the district attorney's office, which they characterized as quote unquote corrupt. Wade, a second source told the news outlet, was in charge of determining who of the 250 office employees would remain with Willis. Sources describe one-on-one interviews being closed-doored with Willis and Wade, who was, quote, too invested to be just a friend of Willis to hold such a powerful position. Wade and Willis claimed their relationship started in 2022 after Willis launched a probe into former President Donald Trump. But sources say that Wade and Willis obviously had an ongoing romantic relationship at the time Willis won the election. One source says, quote, there was just something so weird going on, closed quote. Continues here with, Willis said everyone in the office was essentially all terminated, and that essentially we had to reapply for our jobs and must submit an application and schedule a time to appear for an interview, a source said. They went on to say we had to reapply and came back in so they could interview everyone, from lawyers to paralegals to assistants to investigators, close quote. Another person states, and in that room, in my interview, there were a lot of people other than Fani Willis. And that was her transition team. I definitely know that Nathan was in that room because he was talking, he was taking the lead role, a source stated. They continue with, and I was a little confused because I had never seen him before. Here's another quote. I had about maybe 10 people in the interview, another source said, describing the re-interview process with Wade. Quote, Nathan definitely was up, moving around and taking charge in the room. Wade hired the entire office of 250 employees, the person said. I was just telling him my employment background, and they just sit there and looked at me and they said, we'll get back to you in an email on our decision. And that's what Wade said. And he looked at Willis and they looked at each other, and there was just something so weird going on. Now, that is where that, and there's something so weird going on quote came from, this person's full quote. All right. Now, it goes on to say the sources did not initially know who Wade was during the transition process, but they told the news outlet they questioned why Willis would outsource the transition process to unknown actors. Why was he a part of the hiring process and making the decisions as to who gets hired and fired when he wasn't even an employee or authorized to be in the room? A source questioned. After the re-interview process, Wade and Willis started eliminating anybody that was too close and in control of the office operations, the second source said. Willis, sources asserted, violated the friends and family policy by hiring friends and family and hiding it from the county with fungible state and county dollars. Quote, all the people that worked on her campaign became the inner circle, closed quote. One source familiar with the inner workings of the office said. In January, Trump and co-defendant Michael Roman accused Willis of maintaining improper romantic relationship with Wade. Willis and Wade took the stand in February to testify about whether their relationship disqualifies Willis from prosecuting Trump. Now, that's this story, okay? There is, we got more. We got more, all right? We got more. We got more. I hate to say this, but we really have more. There's something bigger than what any of us know going on here. This wasn't just some random woman who decided with her hand on her hip, finger moving, and head snaking that she was going to get you, sucker. This wasn't that. This was planned from up on high. Watch the next story. Just watch. Wow. You see the screen. You see it right. You ain't tripping. You ain't tripping. You see what you see. Everything from this point has been allegedly. So let's just go. The Biden administration planted operative Jeff DeSantis in Fani Willis's office to target Trump, sources say. That's what the sources say. Now, I'm going to leave that on the screen for you guys while I pull him back up because I want you to see who he is. All right, hold on. you go ahead and read as much as you can. But I want to show you who this guy is. Okay, he's right here. I want to show you who he is. There he is. All right, let me take this link and put it over there with us because I'm back on the other side now. There. All right. The Biden administration planted a Democratic operative inside a Fulton County office to target former President Donald Trump. Multiple sources familiar with the Fulton County District Attorney's Office exclusively told the news outlet. If the Biden administration planted an operative, as the sources say, it would present a strong argument that the administration interfered with the 2024 presidential election. The news outlet granted the sources anonymity to discuss the attorney's office for fear of retribution. The sources have direct knowledge of the environment at the district attorney's office, which they characterized as corrupt. One significant figure is overlooked in the Fulton County scandal concerning Fulton County prosecutor Fani Willis and her alleged lover and fellow prosecutor Nathan Wade, the sources said. Meet Jeff DeSantis, the county deputy's district attorney with professional experience far greater than the average county employee. DeSantis worked on Willis's 2020 campaign, sources told the news outlet, and was the former executive director of the Democratic Party of Georgia with extensive knowledge of campaign finance law. He was also the deputy director of compliance for the DNC, according to his official bio. Quote, Jeff has already worked for candidates in 30 states running for a variety of offices, including President of the United States Senator, Governor, United States Representative, Attorney General, District Attorney, and Mayor, as well as for a national political party committee. He has served as a campaign manager, media consultant, pollster, press spokesman, research director, and policy advisor. Sources credit DeSantis with colluding with the White House to target Trump. DeSantis did this, one source told the news outlet about the Trump case. Quote, he's the one pulling the strings. He was the one that walled Willis off. He was in every important meeting. He is the brainchild behind this. That is the connection to the White House, closed quote. Citing his deep history and connections to the Democrat Georgia machine, sources told the news outlet 100% certain that DeSantis is the one inside, is the inside man planting the Fulton County office by the Biden administration. DeSantis is the one pulling the strings on this whole thing, the second source said. Everybody heard Fani testify. It's no secret that she's not smart. That is how she sounds and acts every day of the week, closed quote. Quote, anyone that has common sense knows that the White House has been involved in this prosecution, the source told the news outlet. This shouldn't just miraculously happen, of course. She's, Willis, not going to prosecute the former president of the United States without the current administration's approval, close quote. Sources speculate that DeSantis was instrumental in selecting grand jurors for the Trump case based on voter registration data. Part of why you're raising money as a candidate is to get money to buy the data about who your voters are, DeSantis, as the former head of state Democratic Party. He's going to know, the data in Georgia, close quote, one source said. There's not one conservative person on that grand jury, close quote. Sources also revealed that DeSantis was a member of the Willis transition team after she won the election in November 2020. DeSantis helped Wade select employees for the new office. Quote, DeSantis was in there in the capacity to be a political strategist hiding in the DA's office, a source told the news outlet. The news outlet exclusively reported on Sunday, Wade is a prosecutor on the Trump case, and he selected the office employees. A source told the news outlet, quote, he made the decisions to hire and fire employees in the district attorney's office following the election victory in November 2020, according to multiple sources familiar with the Wade-Willis relationship. The revelation of Wade's previously unreported position as the former personnel decision maker for the district attorney's office raises ethical and conflict of interest concerns. It also raises questions about whether Wade and Willis have been forthcoming or forthright about the timeline of their reported affair. Sources describe one-on-one interviews behind closed doors with Wade and Willis, calling them too invested to just be friends. The district attorney's office did not reply for a request for comment from the news outlet about DeSantis's alleged involvement between the White House and the Trump prosecution. That pretty much concludes it for me. I have to read certain things in a monotone fashion so that some things don't trip the rhythm, if you know what I mean. After looking at all of this and after going by what my gut has been telling me is the reason why I, of all people, would jump on one of these stories and run with it, there was something that kept bugging me. There was something that's bugging me even more about the other one that I'm harping on right now out of Illinois. But what I want to say is, this is very curious. This is what I want to ask. Isn't it curious to you? Do you find anything strange about any of this? Or is it just me? Is this stuff normal procedure? Is this the way that we're supposed to conduct ourselves when working in this type of environment? Took us an hour to cover all of this, but I do believe we've covered a lot together. I want to appreciate each and every one of you guys that are here right now. I want to just give you my deepest appreciation. And yes, Cindy, it is. But I don't even know what to say. I don't. Here's the deal. The deal is this uncovers for everybody who ever thought that there was something nefarious to a topic. You see, each of us have some gifts inside of us. When we just start scratching our head and we just start feeling like something's not right, you may have been speaking up in one area and didn't know that when you got in your car that there was a person inside the store in the area that you were speaking in that works for the IRS. And you didn't know why you got, and I'm setting the picture up. You didn't know why you ended up getting a soft audit. But it was because somebody disagreed with what you said in the store. And they walked out and pulled down your driver's license number. And the next thing you know, you're being investigated or something. You're just thinking it's just chance. Stories like this let us know that it's not. Some things are planned. Some things are put out there to make you think you're tripping. Some of this stuff is amazing, but if it could happen to somebody like that, and it happened in this type of setting, a county, don't you know that there is a lot of stuff, and I'm going to have to call Judge when we're done here and ask him. if any of these things are true and they could prove that there was some, things that were wrong with this person, is it possible that some of the other cases that she was so vehemently pushing could be thrown out because maybe she's got some, things going on there where it's unethical? I don't know. Maybe it could, but I'll ask him. I want to tell each and every one of you guys that I appreciate you for being here with me this afternoon for our afternoon daily news. You guys take care of yourselves. Before we go, of course, I'm going to pay homage to my brother, my friend, Judge Joe Brown, and tell you guys that if you haven't already gone out to order his barbecue sauce, he ain't paying me for this. I'm doing this because he's my friend. But if you have not gone to get any of it, you got the summer coming, baby. What are you waiting on? You may as well go ahead and get some good stuff that's been crafted by a real chef and my friend, Judge Joe Brown. If you guys have not heard me tell you that I love you in a minute, I love you. You guys take care of yourselves, and then you can turn around and take care of everybody else. And make sure that between now and the time I see you again, you take care of my friend, because my friend is you.
Hey everyone, it's me, Felicia, of the Lockhart Perspective and Headlines with a Voice. I want to tell you a little secret. This is what I used to do, because I don't do it anymore. I would go to the store, buy the barbecue sauce, pour it inside of a bowl, put a whole bunch of different spices, a dash of brown sugar, a dash of maple, and a dash of mustard, stir it all around, and everybody would be like, oh my gosh, this is the best, this is the best. But I was exhausted after all of that, and a lot of times I couldn't remember how many dashes of what I put in it. But I don't have to do that anymore, because now I just go to Judge Joe Brown's website and I order his 3-pack of bottled barbecue sauce. It is by far the best, and I do mean the best barbecue sauce I've ever eaten. And when you go to his website and you order his 3-pack, you'll see exactly what I mean. Head on over to jjbbbbq.com and order Judge Joe Brown's barbecue sauce. You'll be glad you did, and you're going to tell me about it. I know you will. To receive instant notification each time I upload, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification.
Helping you